Ramos Jr. Welcome back to another post-show reaction to Monday Night Raw, another edition of the J Area Wrestling Show. Hopefully, the week has treated you right. It is Mondays, a new week, and a new episode of Monday Night Raw had just taken place. You guys answered the poll. I had a poll up since last night, asking what you guys would be interested in. We discussed the possibility of going live and having like a watch along stream, but a lot of folks have voted. Their votes have spoken, and that we wanted to keep the post show reaction, the recaps going. And I wanted to do something that was more consistent. I know we usually have done the Sundays and Thursdays, but I do kind of want to get in the swing of things of having these shows after Raw. Maybe after NXT, maybe after Dynamite. I think Raw for sure though is a safe bet. SmackDown I would love to, but it's like that one for me is not live. Like I've talked about this in the past. The West Coast doesn't have the live feed for SmackDown, so by the time I start watching the show, it's already ended in some places in the country and in the world. But we could always open that up for maybe a Saturday and discuss what happens on SmackDown on Saturday. But again, I leave that up to you guys. Monday Night Raw ends with a huge main event, a triple threat match that saw CM Punk and AJ Styles share the ring for the first time in over 2 decades. Now, unfortunately, there was a third party involved. Obviously, I'm talking about El Grande Americano. It was to determine who would fill in that final spot for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And I know for me personally, I'm a Punk guy, but I am a super fan of AJ Styles. He was one of the main contributors for me getting into TNA. So if it would have been AJ Styles, if it would have been CM Punk that had advanced and qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, I certainly would not be opposed, but that was not the case. That was not the case. Unfortunately, because of interference by Seth Rollins and his goons that are Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, interference ran rampant all episode of Monday Night Raw tonight, but as a result, El Grande Americano will advance and enter as the sixth and final member of the men's ladder match this upcoming weekend at Money in the Bank. I have some feelings about that. And that's the point of this stream. The point of the streams, the point of the recaps is to share our emotions, share our feelings about what just transpired on the show. And I get it. I understand why they went with El Grande Americano in the grand scheme of the narrative that they are telling. But I just look at it, and you have stars like CM Punk and AJ Styles, and you have this guy go over. Again, I get it. I understand why, but it's just, you look at the field already. You know, LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Penta, just to name a few that are a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match. If it would have been Chad Gable, I'd be fine with it, because I like Chad, and I feel like they have to push him more as a single star. But again, the WWE is predicated on entertainment and having the gimmicks and the characters being highlighted. So the El Grande Americano, character is supposed to get under our skin. It's supposed to be a heel. It's supposed to be someone that we don't want to root for. But it's very conflicting. It's very conflicting because you had Punk and AJ, two of the very best to do it. These are two goats of all time. Having someone like Punk and AJ would have elevated that matchup to another level. Will El Grande Americano win Money in the Bank? I don't think so. But hey, stranger things have happened. Shout out to Mama Ramos in the chat. As you can see here, a new feature on the chat during these live streams is the community. They are ranked. So you are ranked in terms of your participation in the live streams, whether it's super chats, comments, likes, anything of the sort. The chat will keep us updated as to who is ranked. So right now, Mama Ramos ranked number 1. But overall, a good main event. Punk versus AJ versus El Grande Americano. All three are talented individuals that you knew were going to be able to present a fun, entertaining matchup. It's just the end result I don't think is one that a lot of people would have agreed with. CM Punk was not only featured in the main event, he was also featured in the opener and in the middle of the show. A very CM Punk heavy episode of Monday Night Raw, which, hey, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue against it. I'm a Punk guy. I've said it time and time again. The more Punk, the better for me as a fan. But we saw in the early segment of the show where he discusses his aspirations for being the next Mr. Money in the Bank. He has won it on 2 different occasions, in 2008 and in 2009. So he's trying to go for 3. And we're live, so you're going to hear me sneeze. He had won 08 and 09, as I try to recollect myself here. Trying to go for 3. And he discussed the possibility of cashing in on either the champion on Raw, Jey Uso, who's a friend, or the guy on SmackDown, John Cena, who he has a history with. In fact, you go back all the way to 2011. At the very same Money in the Bank event, they had an all-time classic 5-star matchup. The first 5-star matchup in, what would have been, 14 years for the WWE. I think even if Punk would have advanced into the matchup, it would have been a far chance that he would have actually won the matchup here. Punk is in a position where he doesn't need championships. I know he asked the crowd if they wanted to see him as a champion, and he also voiced his aspirations for being a champion, but he's in a spot right now where he doesn't need a title. Punk as Punk alone is a draw. He's going to draw in the audience, bring in the ticket sales, bring in the viewership. He doesn't need it. But aside from that, we saw that CM Punk and Sami Zayn had a little interaction at the beginning of the show. And kind of teasing a moment there between the two, whether or not one turns heel down the line. I don't think right now. But teasing a potential, CM Punk versus Sami Zayn matchup, which I'm all for. I'm a fan of that. Sir Roberts in the chat. WWE pulling WrestleMania from New Orleans, letting Ron Killings go. Cena, please retire. Awful booking. I imagine if Tony Khan wasn't a coked up mark. Oh, imagine if Tony Khan was. And that's the thing too. The WWE has been on a little bit of a run here, and not really the best run. Pulling Mania from New Orleans, still something that we're still trying to figure out what's going on there. Obviously, whoever the new city will be, it looks like it's going to be Vegas again. They probably were the higher bid and earned that spot. New Orleans will be getting, I believe, Money in the Bank next summer. As for R-Truth, we didn't discuss R-Truth's release. Him and Carlito both getting released from the WWE, but the R-Truth one really, I think, hurts the most. All love to Carlito. But for someone like R-Truth, who in a company that is literally called World Wrestling Entertainment, he is the most entertaining guy on that roster. No matter who he's with, no matter what point of the show he comes out on, Truth was always a highlight. I'm not sure what happened there. I've read that reports said that those in power look at R-Truth as someone who's in his 50s, who isn't really wrestling as much as the other guys. And so it was a low investment in Truth and decided not to bring him back. I personally think that's foolish because, again, if you're bringing entertainment, it doesn't matter what position you are in for the company. If you are entertaining, if you are doing your job and are eliciting a positive response or the desired response from the audience, why would you let that person go? I hope for his sake, if he wants to pursue wrestling still, because maybe he wants to go into music. We know Truth has his own music. But if he does want to pursue wrestling still, TNA, I think, is the way to go. He has a history there. A former world champion back in 2002. Ron Killings was the world champion back in TNA. Of course, it was the NWA champion. But I also think that because of the partnership with TNA, he could still possibly show up in the WWE. I don't think his time with the WWE by any means is done. He will be back. He will be a Legends contract. He will be a Hall of Famer. Truth will be back. But it's just the manner in which it happened, he had just had a feud with John Cena, one of the greatest of all time. He had a match against Jeff Cobb, JC, and an entertaining segment, I thought, because he kept calling him Big Boned and was calling him a big boy. So, very entertaining, to say the least. And it was just unceremoniously just released. As for the John Cena, please retire, they did tell us up front that he was going. We may not like it, but I think it is a part of the plan. They want us to not enjoy this run until he eventually turns into a babyface again. But I will say, as a heel, I don't like John Cena as a heel. I don't think it's entertaining. I think it's dry for me, and it doesn't seem natural. But again, maybe that is the point of it all. And I don't want to get meta. I don't want to look too deep into it because I still want to see how the rest of his retirement run, pans out. But I will say the John Cena retirement tour, as of right now, as of this live stream, could be better. It could be better. I do believe that. You talked about Tony Khan. Tony Khan and AEW right now are on the upswing, following a tremendous show with Double or Nothing and a few storylines that will lead into All In. They're on an upswing. It's all about momentum and the ebbs and flows that come with the business. And right now, WWE is getting stagnant. And I will say a lot of that I think has to do with TKO, as San Fran alludes to here in the chat. Did you guys see that apparently reports, again, I always say reports because I'll believe it when I see it, but reports are saying that Slim Jim has a deal with the WWE. We already knew that. We knew they were already a partnership, but they have a deal in place that the tables found underneath the ring will have a Slim Jim logo on the table. That is, wow. Wow. I'm fine with the mat because I look at other sports like the UFC, like boxing. They have the advertisements on the mat. So I'm fine with that. But I look at it from this sense. You want to put it on a table? That's wild. A table. So Robert says the audio is breaking. Let me know if it fixes. But I don't know if you guys heard that. About the Slim Jim potentially being on the tables for the WWE. The amount of advertisements, the amount of sponsors, it is getting kind of alarming. We knew heading into the Netflix era that they were going to be introducing a lot more of sponsors and advertisements. But Jesus, on the tables? What's next? On the ladders? On the chairs? I hope not. I hope not. Because right now it's getting to the point where it's a monopoly. It's a business. And I get it. I totally get it. It is a business at the end of the day. But it's like sometimes, dude, let a brother chill. Let me breathe for a second before you start throwing all these sponsors. For the thrill in the chat, what's going on, bud? Sanford says, too many ads on the show, making it all bright like that. Banned Pokemon episode with the bright colored lights. Of course, alluding to the infamous Pokemon episode where there was a little bit of, flashing lights that could have caused a little bit of an epileptic episode for some viewers. But I don't know. I'll continue to watch as I have. But it's just some notes that we haven't noticed in the past few months. In other news, we're still on the road to Money in the Bank. I will say for the thrill, Hill says AJ Styles took a pin from a white dude cosplaying as a luchador. WWE is in the mud. I mean, I called it too. Heading into the matchup, CM Punk is there. Awesome. AJ's there. Great. Phenomenal, if you will. And then I saw El Grande Americano, and I knew they're going to have him go over. If it was Chad Gable, he would have taken the pin. But because it was El Grande Americano, he was going to win. And because of that interaction between Chad and AJ, you know there's going to be something there. Punk has his issues with Seth and his group. So it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. Not Chad Gable, El Grande Americano. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it was Chad Gable, I would have been fine. I like Chad Gable. But to have it with El Grande Americano, dude. It may okay, I always say in terms of the narrative, it makes sense. But as a fan, it's like I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, man. Feels like they're focusing on ads and sponsors during PLEs more than the match and the than in the match. Well, I mean, if you've seen this, so there's a Twitter account that actually measures the amount of time, like bell to bell in ring match time versus in between, and it's like these PLEs are 2/3 advertisements or breaks, and the matches are minimal, you know. And then on top of that, there are 5 match cards. I think the sweet spot is 7. I think 7 match cards work really well. You're able to present a lot of the stars, the main eventers, have some undercard, have some mid card. 7 to me has always been a solid number. These 5 cards can get a little dicey. You can get away with a 5 match card for like the Royal Rumble, for maybe Money in the Bank. But like Backlash this past, month ago, it was forgettable. What about Triple H ruining the Triple A main event? Are we talking about the Alberto Patron versus El Hijo del Vikingo? Because we knew that El Hijo was going to face off against Chad Gable. But it was like leaked that it was supposed to be for the AAA World Championship, which he had not won yet. It was still Alberto. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of nervous about the AAA ownership with the WWE. I'm not saying I was a huge AAA guy, by no means. I'm not going to pretend and lie to you guys like I was watching AAA all the time. I wasn't. But you're now integrating another company and another roster. It's like, I don't know. It might be a lot going on for them. I'm going to trust the process, but I have my reservations. Love Chad Gable. He's a phenomenal wrestler. I agree. But the gimmick itself, it's tough. It's tough to ride that balance, because we know who Chad Gable is. We know what he's capable of. We've seen the match quality that he can deliver. But when you saddle him with a gimmick like that, it does put a sour taste in our mouths, because it's like, this is how we're going to put him over. Why can't we just put him over based on his in-ring talent? On the flip side, again, it's important to remember that's the point of the character. We're not supposed to like the character, which is a cheap, it's a cop-out. Let's be real. It's a cop-out. In terms of the business, it makes sense. In terms of a fan, I'm 100% with you. It's like the Shorty G stuff. Why can't they let Chad just be this killer of a wrestler? I saw shades of that last year when he turned heel on Sammy. I'm surprised they didn't just have him go out and be a wrestling machine. You did not have to have him be a carbon copy of Kurt, but it's like, it's there. Just have him be a wrestling machine, man. Have him tap people out, suplex them to death, instead of relegating him to a comedy act. You always do this to like the great wrestlers. You relegate them to comedy acts. Now the greats, they have been able to, surpass it and become even greater. The guys I think of, Daniel Bryan, right? Eddie Guerrero, all technicians who had these silly gimmicks, but that character work got them over with the crowd and it elevated them to the next level. I can only hope that this happens with Chad Gable, but it is limited with the El Grande Americano gimmick. How does Alberto have a job? Hey, I may not it may not be a great saying, but they do say any publicity is good publicity. And having a guy like Alberto, who's a former WWE champion, a former WWE alumni, it brings attention, it brings eyes. I personally am not a fan of Alberto, but come on, they're gonna hire him. I don't think the WWE brings him in. I want to first bring that up. The WWE is not going to bring Alberto in. I think that ship has sailed. that relationship is burnt. Sanford with a prediction here: the more ads happening is going to push viewers to go watch AEW, and their ratings will go up by the end of the year. Maybe. Right now, AEW probably has the better in-ring quality. If you want in-ring wrestling, AEW might be the place. WWE is more predicated on characters and story and presentation, the whole entertainment aspect. But in-ring, AEW, man, they're turning they're turning a corner here in terms of the momentum. And I do want to present more AEW content on here because we do a lot of WWE, which I'm fine with. I enjoy both products, but I do want to incorporate more of TNA and AEW here. So let me know in the chat and in the comments if that's something you're interested in. I agree. Have him be per Gable and just be a wrestling machine. It's not that hard. It really isn't. This guy is a legitimate athlete, both collegiate and Olympic. Have him be that. We saw hints of that last year. As I mentioned, last year when he turned on Sammy and he was a vicious heel, and the way he was with Otis. I would like to see that, more of that. This ruthless, vicious side of Gable. But again, it's supposed to be entertainment. And it can be entertaining at a certain point. When you haven't beaten guys like AJ and Punk, it's like, okay. In-ring when no one sells, and they still have the Young Bucks, which means no one is going to watch. But I feel like there's a little bit of something for everybody. I do agree that the lack of selling is alarming. The Young Bucks are obviously a main source of criticism there, which is valid. But there's a little bit of something for everybody. I've always been a fan of Kenny, Swerve, Hangman, Will Ospreay. It's not everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. WWE might head into 95 and might go stale, but I feel like the way they can prevent it is if they listen to the fans. I don't know about 95. That's bad. They go to 95. That's bad. I do think you're onto something, Sanfran, but I would probably say more along the lines of like 08 to 2010, where there were bits of good stuff, but the overall product itself was kind of, tamed. Like a PG era. One thing that I did think was like a red flag, though, was how apparently they want people to tone down on the cursing for the chants. And it's like, you can't tell fans what to say. Like, they're going to pay the money to be there. They should be able to chant what they want to chant. Again, as long as it is respectful, as long as it is not offensive, just be decent people, right? But, like, the chanting, like, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of having them control what they can and can't chant. Because, again, you see the prices of the tickets? The prices of the tickets are getting ridiculous, and you're going to tell them, hey, you're going to pay this much money, and you can't say this, this, or this. It's like, oh, BS. Come on now. Come on. For the Thrill says AEW, better in-ring, less filler. Also, I really hope this lame product will push viewers to check out AEW. Hopefully people will watch all in, and there is no way they won't be hooked. Enjoy your AEW champ, John Moxley. Moxley's title reign is coming to an end. I think Hangman's going to win. Hangman should win. If they have Mox go over on Hangman, whoa, that's going to be... I think that's tone deaf. I think Hangman has to go over. But for the Thrill, it does say better in-ring and less filler. I agree there is less filler, but there are some times during like a pay-per-view where, like, dude, I need a little moment to catch my breath. Because they go match, which is fine. But maybe match, break, and then go for another 4 matches. Because sometimes it's like, hey, even for me, it's a lot, Enjoy that final Cena heel run. Oh, you guys are funny, man. They're going at it. And meanwhile, there's TNA in the corner like, hey, TNA's still around too. It's great. But I think the competition's great. Whenever people I see like the discourse of like AEW versus WWE, I've always been the kind of person and fan where it's like I want to see everyone succeed. But I love that there's competition. I love there's a competitive feel between the fan bases, between the companies, because iron sharpens iron. You want one company to do good, the other company's going to do better. This company's going to do better, this one's going to try to top them. So I like seeing it. I like seeing them forcing one another to improve as companies. But I will agree though, the Moxley and Cena runs have been questionable at best. But I do want to talk about Raw. I love the comments here in the chat, though. Keep those going, and we'll get back to them in a second here. But I do want to talk about Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie wins the triple threat match, will be qualifying or has qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Love the debut. Love it. They treated Stephanie as a star, gave her a hype package, gave her pyro during her entrance. So, big fan of Stephanie. Love that she went over. I think it was the right call. Hangman needs to dethrone Moxley. I can't defend it if they don't. Yeah, he has to. I've been saying, when it first happened, I thought for sure it was going to be Darby. And then at some point I was like, okay, I guess it's going to be Will. And now we're at Hangman, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's a Hangman. But regardless of the three, Hangman. Speedball Bailey is a game changer. Yeah. I could not envision him going to the WWE or NXT. Like, his style, I think, just fits so well with AEW. His TNA stuff was really good. His AEW run, have high hopes for him there. So, I do enjoy AEW, but it's hard, guys, for me to keep up with all the shows since I work night shifts. I miss SmackDown every time because it's 3 hours and I have to work all day on Saturdays. Yeah. It's a lot to keep up with, San Fran, because as we've said before, there's wrestling every day of the week. Raw, Monday, Tuesdays NXT, Wednesdays Dynamite, Thursdays TNA, Fridays SmackDown, Saturday Collision. It's a lot to keep up with, but that's why we have here these live streams to keep up to date and make sure you guys are aware with what's going on in every company. For the throw says LMAO, anyone at this point, Swerve, Darby, Will, Hangman. Not wrong. All great shifts, all great picks. Swerve, Darby, Will, Hangman. I think it has to be Hangman, bro. And it's in Texas, Cowboys. San Fran, and then Raw happens right when I start my shift. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. Also, for all the plug to keep us updated. I watch a lot of the shows so you guys can come back and make sure that we're all in the know. Because I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, There's people out there in the chat who talk about MLW and GCW. There's other stuff that I don't keep up with. I keep up with the big three. TNA, AEW, WWE. The big three. For the thrill says definitely Hangman. Just to see the redemption angle too. He's a hometown hero from Texas, even though he's from Virginia. He's a cowboy. You know what I mean? Even though he's from Virginia, Texas, come on. Sir Robert, Saturday Collision unless Black Adam is coming on. I know. I remember seeing that online. They were talking about how, the last 30 minutes of Collision, caught off, and it was Black Adam. And I thought for sure, I was like, maybe they'll fix it on the West Coast. And it didn't. I was watching it, and it did change to Black Adam. At this point, the only show I can watch live is New Japan. Yeah, because you have like a terrible sleep schedule too, man. You're right. They would cheer him. They would cheer for him nonetheless. They're gonna cheer for anybody but Moxley at this point. After holding that that title hostage for, Jesus, what has it been? Half a year already? It was October. Wrestle Dream. So November, December. Like 8 months. And he's been champion. They need to take the title off. I swear, if they have Moxley go over, that is such a misstep. And it's like I said, tone deaf. Read the room. You're going to end the biggest show of the year, allegedly, because, you know, some people say it's Double or Nothing or Revolution. I've heard some people say Revolution's their big show. I think it's All In. It has to be Hangman. It has to be. What are you guys' thoughts on Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm? Because Mercedes Moné won the Owen Hart tournament. We'll get a championship matchup against Toni Storm for the title. How you feeling about that? In the meantime, I'm going to bring up the Judgment Day here real quick because of what's going on Monday Night Raw. More advancements in the story of the Judgment Day. Roxanne Perez interjecting herself between what is going on in that group. We're seeing more dissension between Finn Balor and Liv Morgan. There's plans, there's schemings, and you're kind of seeing the seeds being planted for a little bit of a civil war, a division within the Judgment Day. Finn Balor, JD, Roxanne on one side. Looks like it's going to be Dominic, Liv, and Raquel on the other side because your boy R-Truth and Carlito are released, so they're not even involved anymore. But we saw Liv Morgan was unable to win her qualifier matchup. That is why Stephanie advanced. Roxanne gets involved in the Judgment Day's business, and they're able to defeat the War Raiders, putting them in line maybe for a future World Tag Title shot. Then we see Raquel take a loss from Kairi Sane because Liv Morgan gets involved, but Io makes the save. When is it going to break up? I don't know. This is something that's been going on for a couple years now. The will they, won't they break up story of the Judgment Day. I do think it's going to eventually turn into Finn, JD, and Roxanne kicking out Liv and Dom. Will Raquel be a part of that? Or will she rock with Finn and them? Just because, you know, Dominic's the Intercontinental Champion, Liv is a movie star now, so maybe they're getting too big in a similar way to how Damian and Rhea were kicked off too. But I did like the subtlety of Dom and Finn's tension there. The way that Finn Balor, you know, hit the title. And Dom looks at the title and they're kind of glancing over the IC championship, so. Did you know Tony will make the Mox Championship match a 3 or 4 way? He can't help his mark self. If he goes over, maybe. But I'm telling you, it's got to be Hangman. You know how hilarious it would be if Tony Khan made himself as 99 Vince and won the AEW title? Do you think he's that big of a mark? I mean, we're all marks in our own way. You did not just send happy poop for 10 jewels. Appreciate that, San Fran. That's hilarious. Can you imagine Tony winning the championship, though? That would be crazy. That would be a bigger, indication of a mark? Because at least with Vince, he's like a top heel. Vince is a top heel of all time. But who the hell would Tony pin? But that was the episode of Monday Night Raw. We had a lot of advancements with the Judgment Day. I didn't know that was a feature. Now you know. If you don't know, now you know. Stephanie and El Grande Americano, they advance into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Party hat for 20 jewels. Thank you for the jewels. Thank you for the party hats. Appreciate that, San Fran. San Fran claiming the #1 spot here in the chat. With NXT coming up, we'll see how that goes. Dynamite's this week. We might be doing more lives. I don't want to guarantee it, but like I said, I had the poll up. People were more interested in having more of a recap show. Let's party. So we'll probably be doing that. Of course, as I've always said, make sure you keep your notifications on. That way you're aware when we go live. And then also keep an eye on the community post for any updates in regards to the channel, the videos, or the... Don't even start, Sam, friend. I see you in the chat. Yeah, so he's throwing me off now. Keep an eye on the community tab. That way you're up to date with the live streams, the videos, the memberships, polls, posts, any of that good stuff. That's where we're going to have it, as always. But honestly, a decent Raw in terms of like the show. The pacing I thought was good. Next week's Monday Night Raw will be the main. I think it's going to be the main event. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but Gunther versus. Happy birthday. Appreciate that. Jesus. Um, Next week could be the main event. Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Championship. It'll be a rematch from WrestleMania. I gotta tell you, I have a feeling Gunther's gonna win. I think it's all depending on how Money in the Bank plays out. Because if John Cena and Logan Paul go over and Jey loses with Cody Rhodes, I could see Jey Uso winning against Gunther. But if they win, it can't be. It's gonna be one or the other. It's not gonna be both. It's gonna be one loss, one win. And then on top of that, I really struggled with the idea that Gunther loses another match here to Jey at the very least. He's focused, primed for a victory. Jey right now is embroiled in a feud with Seth and his guys. So who's to say they don't interfere and cost Jey the match against Gunther? I think it's a very strong possibility that Gunther's going to win the world title. And on top of that, it'll be after Money in the Bank. So even if Gunther wins, or excuse me, even if Jey wins the match, who's to say that the winner of the Money in the Bank contract 2 days prior doesn't choose to cash in on Jey? I think regardless, I think Jey Uso is not walking out with the world title next week on Raw. I think it has all the makings of him losing that title. But to play devil's advocate, they have been really talking about how he's overextending himself, helping Sammy, helping Punk, helping people fight these battles, helping Cody, helping people fight these battles that really aren't his, and losing focus of the match. Maybe it's a way to have him give this perception that he's not focused only to win and persevere, possibly. But from a betting man, which I am, I think Jay's not going to win that world title. I think he's going to walk out a loser come next Monday. Where's Wardlow? I thought I read somewhere that he was injured, which would be the only explanation. Because how crazy is it? A couple years ago, great question there by Sir Robert. Wardlow coming out of his feud with MJF was looking like a star. We're reminiscent of Batista. Maybe not exactly, but reminiscent of Batista from the Evolution days. This guy looked like he was going to have the rocket strapped to him and become a world champion in AEW. And it quickly fizzled out, and they dropped the ball, for the lack of a better phrase. They just dropped the ball with Wardlow. Gained all this momentum, gained all this fan support for what? To be a part of Adam Cole's group that led to nothing? And then they would tease this run between him and Adam Cole that he was going to, overpower Adam Cole and become his own star again because he fell into the same trap as like with MJF. And again, they didn't do anything with him. Really dropped the ball with Wardlow. I think he's injured. And if he's not, that's just stupid. If he's not injured and they don't have anything for him, that's crazy. But I mean, I don't run a wrestling company, so I mean, who am I to judge the booking, right? Come on, that's what we do here on these streams. We're judging bookings, we're judging matches, judging the product, because you have to hold them accountable. If you don't like the product, hey, let them know. And maybe they'll change it. Look at WrestleMania 30. People weren't happy with that main event. And people voiced their support for Daniel Bryan, and look what happened. But I guess it was another time. But I feel like in this day and age, they are really receptive to crowd reaction. Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 40, the pivot. If people are feeling strongly about something, let them know. Speaking of which, how about the R-Truth chants during Raw today? If you guys caught Monday Night Raw, there were several "We Want Truth," "R-Truth," "What's Up" chants during the matches. One in particular was Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez. I don't think anybody was really interested in that matchup, truthfully. There was no investment there. The crowd was chanting for R-Truth. And then following the show, CM Punk, obviously sarcastic, a little tongue-in-cheek there. But CM Punk says, "How dare you cheer for someone that isn't even here anymore?" Obviously, he's doing it in fun because it's like a reference to him when he was gone for 10 years and the crowds would still chant for him. So, but you know someone's going to take that offensively. But yeah, R-Truth, I'm thinking TNA. I'm thinking he has to go to TNA. If AEW picked him up, that'd be crazy. But I just feel like because of his relationship with the WWE, TNA is a viable option, especially because of the history that he has with that company, having won the NWA World Championship at TNA on 2 occasions. Ron the Truth Killings, former tag team champion with Adam Pac-Man Jones back in 06, 07. Has history there. Why wouldn't you? Plus, he knows people there. Nick Nemeth, Santino is still there. And you get the occasional crossover with the WWE. It just makes sense. But that's only if he wants to still pursue or still wants to pursue wrestling. Because who's to say he doesn't want to pursue his music? He is an artist, by the way. Sir Robert says, lastly, your thought is all this corporate big money decisions Triple H are above. I think it has to be above. I hope it's not Triple H. I think Triple H isn't looking at it from a business standpoint, but from a creative standpoint, right? Triple H, I don't think, has the power to fire people. I do think maybe, hear me out, maybe I'm wrong. But maybe, in relation to the R-Truth release, Triple H tries to say, we want R-Truth. He's our guy. He's, been here for years. He's a big part of the show. And ultimately, the higher-ups at TKO say, you know what? He's in his 50s. Doesn't wrestle that much. How much upside is there in terms of business? It just doesn't make sense to keep him. I think it's above Triple H. Now, I will say, in terms of booking, guys like, I'll just say Carmelo Hayes. That's on Triple H. Carmelo Hayes is a star. And I hate that they paired him up with The Miz. Those kind of things are on Hunter. But advertisements, sponsors, moving WrestleMania from New Orleans to probably Las Vegas, that's TKO. That's TKO. And since the introduction of TKO, I'm going to defer to San Fran here. There have been questionable calls in terms of the presentation, in terms of business, with TKO running the show. But nothing's perfect, right? And to really answer the question, Sir Robert, I think it is above Triple H. He is the chief of creative. I forgot what the title is. Chief creative officer, or I don't know, but he's creative. He's not, an executive. Because can you imagine if it's Hunter's call to fire these people? Like, that's tough. That's tough. But I would think they have like a talent relations. Back Jim Ross was the former talent relations. John Laurinaitis was a former talent relations. Mark Carano was there for a bit as well. So I don't think it's Hunter's call. And that's just releases, but in terms of like big money decisions, I think he could have his input, maybe have a request, but ultimately he does not have the final say, I would think. I want to give a quick shout out here to San Fran 5 and to Mama Ramos, our members of the Main Event Mafia. You guys can see that they have these titles next to their names, indicating that they are members of the channel. Depending on how long you've been a member with the YouTube channel, it'll change the championships. Road Dogg took down his X comment. Which comment was that? Was it the one about which comment was that? About his love for Ron Killings? He did take it down? Okay, I didn't even know that he had that he posted anything. He took it down? Why would you take that down? He had shared, let's see, I am heartbroken. It's the nature of the beast, the part of the business that no one likes. But the bean counters. I love Ron, the truth killings, and I don't care who knows it. What a run. And he deleted it? That's weird, though. Because, like, why would you delete it? It wasn't even anything, you know, crazy, like, or controversial. But yeah, I'm not seeing it anywhere. That's weird. And they go way back, you know? K-Quick. When R-Truth had first started in the WWE, it was K-Quick. Starting with Road Dogg. They were both in TNA together. Interesting. I do think it's only a matter of time before he comes back. Bean counters the higher ups. Yeah, after I read it, I was like, okay. Because it took me for a second, I was like, Bean. And Bean counter, I was like, oh. It took me a second. So the higher ups made him take it down, you think? Because of that comment, the Bean counters, and then they're like, hey, take that down. That's crazy. I just want to give a shout out to everybody here, not only on stream, but on the channel in general. We are just about to hit 2,900 subs on YouTube. The goal is to get to 3,000, obviously. I would like to get to 4,000 by the end of the year. But we're right there. We are about 122 subs away from 3,000. And that is, for some people, maybe that's not as big of a deal, but for someone like me who, well, hey, we just got one in the minute that I was talking. So, an extra one there. Appreciate that. For some people, maybe it's not a big deal, you know, because like, oh, 3,000 is nothing in comparison to people who have like millions and millions of subs. But for me, I take it a day at a time. And to think where we were a year ago, around this time a year ago, we had not even hit 1,000. And now we're on the cusp of hitting 3. Continuing to grow the channel, to grow the community as a fan base, as friends, really. You know, for people who come up in these streams and talk about pro wrestling, talk about the one thing that has always brought me joy, to come together and talk about it in a like-minded or maybe not like-minded feed, I do consider you guys friends. I appreciate that, by the way. We'll be going live for another 10 minutes here. We try to go for 60 minutes on these streams, give you guys the opportunity to ask your questions, comments in regards to not only the show that just transpired, but any news in pro wrestling. We want to do more recap streams on YouTube. So again, keep an eye on those community tabs, the community posts, the notification bell. Hit that bell, man. Hit that bell so you know when the bell's ringing for us here on the stream. Shout out to our top 3 members of the stream. At number 3, Sir Robert. At number 2, it looks like it's For the Thrill. And at number 1, we have San Fran. It even gives you guys points there. That's pretty cool. But we do have a video coming out, I believe, Wednesday for our members of the channel. Those who are the Main Event Mafia members, they've already gotten access to the video. But later this week, we will have another video up and running for the general public. It is the 5 most controversial wrestling matches in WWE history. 5 of the matches that they don't want you to talk about, 5 of the matches that really stand out in the annals of the WWE. So if you are a member of the Main Event Mafia and have became a member for the channel, you'll have early access to all the videos I post, as well as exclusive polls, comments, exclusive shorts, and videos as well. You can find the link to become a member down in the description, as well as in the channel's About Me page if you want to get early access and exclusive content like our other members of the Main Event Mafia. Like I said, later this week, it'll be the 5 most controversial wrestling matches in WWE history. Love to get your guys' feedback. When that does come out, make sure you like the video, comment down below some of the matches maybe that I was missing, or even better, subscribe to the channel. That way you can stay up to date with all the pro wrestling content that we produce here on YouTube. We're looking to do a lot more content that's related to the ongoing business with these live streams. I use these live streams as a way to connect with you guys with the ongoing news. And then the videos are kind of just open-ended. You know, it's something that's dealing with the history or just really just the overarching history of wrestling. And I'm hoping to get that going. OKC or Pacers? Sir Robert, I love the question. I'm rooting for the Pacers. I like Halliburton. I like Siakam. But my pick, I'm picking the Thunder. I think the Thunder are too deep. I think defensively they have the poise. I think they're hungry. Both teams are hungry. Let's get that straight, because the Pacers and the Thunder, these are young cores that have not been in the finals. The Thunder, last time they were there was back in 2012. The Pacers, last time they were there was in 2000. And none of these guys were on those teams. My pick is the Thunder. I'm going to go Thunder in 6. Thunder in 6. But I want the Pacers to win, because I don't want anybody from the West to win. As a Warrior fan, I don't want the West to win. We're rocking with the Thunder. And then the MVP will be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, how could it not, right? Scoring. And what a season. If they win, which is my prediction, what a season for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Scoring champion, MVP, All-Star, All-NBA, the Western Conference MVP leading into the playoffs. Presumably the Finals MVP, winning the championship. It might go down as one of the great years for a point guard in NBA history. Recency bias? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, to have all those accolades and achievements in one season, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. I just hope it's a good series. You know, I'm not like overly obsessed, like, oh, the Pacers have to win. No, it doesn't affect me. I just want it to be a good series. Thunder versus Pacers, a fresh series, by the way. Because for a while there, we were getting Warriors and Cavs. You know, we had a lot of veteran presence in these last few finals matchups, but we have two really young cores when it comes to this year's finals. So I'm going Thunder. I'm going Thunder. We'll go ahead and start closing up here, guys. I want to thank you again for joining us here on today's live stream, the Raw recap. We talked a lot about Monday Night Raw, talked about AEW, which we'll probably be doing a lot more here as we lead into AEW All In, the big event All In for All Elite Wrestling. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on this live stream. Appreciate you guys and all the constant support, all the love that you send our way here at the J Area Wrestling Show. The show would not be possible without you guys, and it's because of you guys that I keep coming back. You guys motivate me to keep coming back and trying to produce the best content that I can. And as we continue to grow, as we continue to stride towards 3K, things are going to get bigger and better. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Everyone be safe, be cool. Have a good one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.